Hi friends, host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People, and I've got to admit it, my heart is kind of pumping with this adrenaline from watching the first 11 minutes of this video by Melissa Talks that's mistitled MBTI Harassment. So I want to begin by just saying this here, what you see in this window up here, is me having flowed the round, so to speak, which is I wrote down everything, all of her points that she made in this first 11 minutes, and I want to go through them point by point because this is what she's doing here is an example of true and genuine wickedness. It's not merely a conflict of frames. Her first position is online harassment. It's just me sharing my perspective, is what she says. Except that's definitely not what she claims throughout this video. She's definitely saying that harassment is a standard that's been met and that I've crossed it in some fashion and am guilty of harassment and bullying in a YouTube sense. Note, Melissa, this is really important. How you feel doesn't determine whether I'm harassing you. You may feel very harassed. That is not how we determine whether somebody is harassing somebody else. So if this is just you sharing your perspective, then you're saying, I don't like the way this made me feel. I understand and respect that. You don't like the way this made you feel. You will continue interviews. Nobody, certainly not me, I never suggested in any sense what you should do. I never told you what to do. At all. In fact, I didn't even put you in type jail. I was surprised when somebody told me you'd put this crazy community post up that conveyed so clear that you did not understand the nature of language, making claims, establishing explanations for things, that you fundamentally don't think of MBTI as a truth that needs to be true first, but rather as a tool that you use for whatever purposes you want, is very clear. You've been making MBTI content for a few years. You received a lot of pushback at first because you were a woman, you thought. It's not relevant to this last week, you then say. That's what you say, right? Now, granted, I didn't get a lot of it this last week. You didn't directly accuse me in this part of the video of shitting on you because you're a woman, or this having anything to do with me and you being our respective genders, right? You then say, you received a few DM and email threats, not a big deal. I want to again point out, whether or not somebody threatened you is not determined by whether you feel threatened. In other words, there are objective criteria that need to be met before you can accuse someone of threatening or harassing. They are not descriptions of your feelings, they're descriptions of a behavior that has concrete criteria that need to be met. Okay? My content is difficult to make because I share my perspective and it's painful. Said no ENTP ever. I'm going to be helpful. Be blessed to. I'm here to be helpful. I'm here to be blessed to collaborate. And the thing is, Melissa, I'm not really here to be helpful. I'm not really here to collaborate. And that's okay too, because I'm an ENTP, so I'm here mostly to get attention, try to get as famous as I can, to be liked, popular, or at least respected. I'm not really here to help people. But that doesn't mean I'm okay with hurting people. I don't like hurting people. If you actually knew anything about type police, what you know is that there's a long history of me struggling with the fact that the truth hurts people a lot sometimes. And yet it's still good for everybody that it be said. If somebody thinks they understand about an ENTP from watching you, listening to you, watching this video, they have been horribly misled, because this is not how an ENTP responds to something. This is how an ENTP responds to something. So he said, when you first started, people warned you about one person, namely Eric. He's 70 or 80. So there is one party in this conversation here that is being groupist. I'm not reducing you to any member of any group. I'm not saying you like the way you are because you're a woman or a man or old or young or white or black or yellow or anything, any bullshit like that, right? I'm not I'm not reducing you in that fashion to some demographic label that I impose upon you and force you to adhere to in my mind, right? You are doing that. Now, you might claim that typology is doing that. I'm using typology to do that. Because typology is the only way we can accurately describe people in groups in that fashion. Because then we are not describing some arbitrary label like race or something, but instead we are describing an actual mechanics of manifestation of personality. So my manifestation of personality, the mechanics of it make such that I've got excellent answers to everything you say, and I'm right about all this stuff. And the reason I'm right about all this stuff is because my mechanics of attention are appropriate for this subject matter and this kind of analysis, while yours are not. So I'm not 70 or 80, I'm 50 years old. And my girlfriend is 37. And everyone around here is 20s, in their 20s. That's not true. Sorry, we older people count too. We don't need to be tossed in the garbage can as soon as we hit 30 years old. Sorry. This is what we do. We build a community. That's what you would like to do. I built a community as well, but I have not committed to ambiguity tolerance on shit about which there shouldn't be ambiguity tolerance from my perspective, right? I understand MBTI very well, or typology, cognitive functions very well, and when people want to make it more vague than it is, that is doing our strongest and best psychology frame a great disservice, and I don't like that, and I respond poorly to it in the sense that I don't affirm it, I negate it, right? But that's not a bad response in general. Like, it's a good thing that I do. I'm doing a service for everybody when I say, no, let's be intellectually robust here. Let's be smart and let's be not tolerant of bullshit and mush. You might not like that perspective. You might disagree. You might think typology is bullshit and mush. But you can't have it both ways, right? You can't both talk about typology as though it were not bullshit and mush and had meaningful things to say about people, but then when held to account and said, well, you don't actually seem to fit this description here, to say, well, I don't have to. This is just my personal arbitrary decision about my understanding of self, and I'm just sharing my perspective here. You're not. You're moralizing for sure. You're making claims and accusations. You're accusing people of things. You're making veiled threats. Is this a rite of passage to get abused? No. The thing that needs to be understood is I'm as reflexively myself as you are yourself. Why did I end up type policing you? For the reasons I articulated in my video, which is I was in the middle of live streaming, ignoring doing what makes more sense for my channel, which is type police, as usual, doing what I felt like doing, which was just chatting in a live stream, as usual. When finally, the collective momentum of a bunch of people saying, please do more type police, I said, fine, I'll do it right now. Who should I do? And everybody said, you. So that's how this happened, right? It's not some rite of passage. It's not like Eric goes out of his way to abuse people. I went back and forth. Okay, fuck it, I said. Sitting here with Rachel, fuck it. I'll watch it. I'm going to watch this video of hers. And I watched it. Now, the thing is, are you bullying me? Well, I have a better case than you do, because you're attacking me on something that's totally both factually false and irrelevant, namely my age. I have a better case than you do, because you're treating me as though, purporting as though somehow I'm being creepy or weird or harassing a young woman, and that's a simple, absolute fucking lie. A straight up lie. You're lying and slandering me. So I've got a much better case than you do. But of course, I don't view this as you bullying me. I view this as a learning lesson for you, a teachable moment, right? Will you learn anything from this? Probably not. Based on this video here, you didn't learn anything from my last video. Other people did stuff after Eric made it TP. I am not responsible for anybody's behavior but my own. At no point do I ever tell my subs to do anything. I never say, come on guys, go out there and leave comments on Mia's video or something. At no point do I ever say to anybody to do anything. I don't think they need to. I'm not the leader of a gang or something. There's just people who watch my video and decided to comment to you. Whether if they did so in an unacceptable way, that's on them, not me. I don't affirm, negate, or have anything to do with any communication with you from anybody. at all. The only thing I'm responsible for are my words. Unfortunately, for your sake, Melissa, you are also responsible for your words. Your point then is, maybe I didn't know that you would be harassed by my subs. But I read your post and I learned that you felt harassed. And so then I was obligated to change my ways. No, because again, whether or not somebody is harassed is not determined by whether they feel harassed. And I did not harass you. Some other people may have, but I did not. So there's nothing I need to change. Bullying and trolling is not a great look. I agree. And there are moments when I come across as a bully. And this unfortunately is a necessary part of being somebody who is both correct and unwilling to allow the cancer of wrongness to persist without comment when it's right in front of his face. So I try to avoid watching shit that I don't want to deal with or don't want to respond to, right? Because it might make me feel bad. And because I'm not willfully dishonest about the matter, I recognize that I'm responsible for my feelings, not somebody else. This video of yours makes me feel angry. I'm responsible for my anger. I have a choice. Okay, well, then do something about it, Eric. Then make a video response. Okay, great. That's as far as it goes in my head. In your mind, you're here trying to accuse me and make veiled threats about like reporting me to YouTube or shit, right? Old man ignores complaints of young woman. I didn't ignore them. I made a video response to them. You don't seem to understand what the word ignore means. You don't like the fact that I didn't obey your implied command that I stop saying things about you. That is not ignoring your complaints. That's responding to them. Words mean things. Then I made another video. That's what I just did, right? In other words, I'm not ignoring your complaints. I'm responding to them. You don't want me to ignore them or respond to them. You want me to agree with them. But you're wrong, so I'm not going to do that. Have I talked to you? I don't need to talk to you. I didn't pull you over and say, from my personal experience with this woman, here's what I've concluded. I pulled you over and said, based on this video here, this is what I think. I guess there's not quite enough evidence to arrest her. Well, there certainly is now ample evidence to arrest you, and she's put away for life imprisonment in the type jail. Because not only did you get away with it in the first place, but then when you get called on it, you resist arrest and try to launch an armed insurrection, essentially. I mean, no. If she endured harassment by my subs, and she saved all those informations. She saved every bit of it. She did. Oh no, I'm terrified for those people, I guess. I don't give a fuck about those people who left you comments or whatever. I don't care what happens to them. If they did something stupid, then report them. Go ahead. I don't care. I didn't do it is the point. I'm not them. And trying to make me responsible for their behavior is evil. Let's see what else she had to say.
This is not entertaining at all.
I find it entertaining.
100% aware of, and you're just fine with continuing your behavior.
Yeah, I am.
I have not watched the second video you made, mainly because I'm a really busy person, and I just had to take a week off of work because of you.
So, I'm a little confused.
Oh my God. Can you believe this? Woman, I did not make you take a week off of work. You have to pretend like some words mean something. Let me show you what an actual ENTP woman looks like, okay? Because they're very different than you. Problem is, you only have enough food stored up for everyone to eat all winter long and nobody starves.
Yeah, well, honestly, it's like, I would just well, you have to deliver feedback in a way that is efficient. So I understand that I need to adjust the style, for people to be able to absorb it, because it's my responsibility as a communicator to convey that message. And if I have the skill of adjusting my communication style, therefore I should use it, because that's my tool, that's my toolkit, right? So it's not just, oh, I feel like I'm going to splat these things and everybody walks around offended. It doesn't work in my interest and it doesn't work in their interest. So I'm happy to.
It's the burden. It's the burden.
It's draining. It's draining. It takes, because you're there and they're here, right? And you're like, come on. And
I was shocked.
that.
Let me tell you something. When I became the director of a chain of debate schools, when I became the director of that business and it became that anyway. I was shocked at the incredibly low quality of work that people did. I was just like, I can't believe the way it used to be when I was a teacher and there was some principal or other director in charge of me. I was always like scared, like, God, I'm just, basically letters. It's going to be different.
From my experience, they get offended, and they get offended by the truth. And it's like, yeah, but you did make those mistakes. Objectively speaking, there's typos in your whatever it is.
Right.
So it's like, oh, but you shouldn't say that. That's rude. And you're like, that's not rude. That's true.
Right. I mean, yeah. It's like she was telling me I need to redo some set of work because when we utilized it in Shanghai, it didn't work, and I'd already emailed her saying this is the wrong. I put in the old one into this package. I didn't put the correct. I have the right.
Because I sometimes see them as little toddlers coming up, like that little toddler's coming up. It's like, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of emotional vomit right now. Half of that is judgment, and it's incorrect. So, whoa, like I don't need to be taking all that in, right?
Right.
But I suppose we have our own shortcomings as VMTPs. What would be where are we the weakest?
Well, I mean, the thing is, for every type, with their 4th and their 8th slot functions, we don't want anybody interfering, except insofar as we can delegate our 4th. So in other words, you don't want anybody telling you what to do with your SI, your when to go to bed, when to... All right, so you can see Aga there saying basically the same things I just said, although unfortunately I didn't plan to bring Aga in here. If you think somehow I'm not typing you as ENTP because you're a woman or have some sort of thing against chicks or whatever, you are the only person in history to ever make that claim who wasn't actively being spiteful. Nobody accuses me of treating people differently from each other. I treat everybody the same. And the only time I have even the slightest bit of like, hey girl, is when I'm single, and that's only for the short period of time it takes me to get into my next long-term relationship. So I've been with Rachel now for 2.5 years. When I talk to anybody, doesn't matter, young, old, woman, man, whatever, I'm the same professional, particularist, dealing with the individual human being, non-groupist, and asexual person that I always am. I reserve anything with like man, boy, girl stuff for my relationship. And I treat every other human being the same. I do not assume anything about you because you're a woman at all. I am the least guilty person of that you will find. And if you watch this typing session of Aga, you very busy person, then you too will conclude, oh fuck, I am definitely not an ENTP.